But our parents met in a band in the 40s. And, Linda was born in 47, we were born in the 50s. And when we were really young, we were just surrounded by music from the time we were born. And as I grew up, I remember, my mom had a club band. People would come over and jam. And eventually, when I was 8, I started playing trumpet. And, I just would sit in with the jam sessions, and my mom would take me to her club gigs once in a while when I was about 10 on the trumpet, and eventually I got a guitar. So that's how I got into it, and that was the scene at home, and Lance could tell you his personal, experience with that, but that's the way it was. So doing what we do now was like, for us, it was always the normal thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dad played horn, and Mom was a great piano player and an awesome singer. She was a gifted singer. And she played, Dad had a business, and he didn't get to play so much because of a family of 4, right? But Mom played gigs till she was 40, and she taught piano till she was about 60. And when they retired down here to Florida from New York, Dad thought he was going fishing, but they got rediscovered in the community center at the place they moved to. My mom was playing, and then they started playing in bands again. So my dad picked up his horn, and he played just about every day till he got ill and passed away. So in their golden years, they were still playing gigs.
They came down to Florida from Long Island in like 1990, 1991, and they weren't down here for a couple of months, and I got a phone call, and they wanted me to find them some MIDI equipment, and they had already bought a van, and I was like, whoa. So it was like really funny.
But we grew up in the era, and the Beatles hit Ed Sullivan, all that stuff happened when we were kids, and so it was very inspiring. So we were steeped in it on all levels, and we trained for, in school. Larry played trumpet, I played clarinet. Our younger brother Lane, he played trumpet. We all were trained one way or another, and then Larry went off to college, at which point I picked up a guitar for the first time, bass actually, and aspired to someday be in a band with Larry, who was my big brother idol, and lo and behold, it happened. And that's how Orleans, after I graduated high school, Orleans had already started as a trio, and I was kind of inducted as the 4th person, and then we began the recording career of Orleans. And then later down the road, in the 80s, and then on and off again, our younger brother Lane entered the Orleans band, and he's a mainstay these days, since the last decade or so.
But going back to what Lance was just saying about being in high school and stuff, when I left in '67, I went up to Ithaca to go to college to be a music teacher, and I was only 16. So I quit college after about a year and a half because I just wanted to play rock and roll. And I had good bands. I got in this band called Bafalongo that the drummer was Wells Kelly, who became Orleans' original drummer, and his brother Sherman Kelly was also in that band, and he wrote Dancing in the Moonlight. And we were the first band that started playing Dancing in the Moonlight in like 1969. So Wells broke the band up, the Bafalongo band up, at the end of 1971, got a phone call from John Hall, who we had met in a jam session in New York City. John got tired of having his place broken into in New York City, moved to Woodstock, called Wells up in Ithaca and said, would Wells come down and be in his band that he had in Woodstock? Wells said yes, so that blew up Bafalongo. A month later, in January of 72, they both called me and they said, look, 2 of the guys of the 4 guys we have in the band just quit. Could you come down and we'll have a trio? So I went down there to Woodstock in 72, and we had the trio that became Orleans. And then 9 months later, after Lance graduated high school that summer, that's when he joined Orleans, and that was the original recording band. When we were a trio, John was playing drums and bass, and of course a lot of guitar. I was playing keyboards and a lot of bass, a lot of fretless bass, and a lot of guitar. And Wells was playing drums and keyboards and bass and a little bit of guitar.
Yeah,
that's how it was.
I used to go see them. I was 16 at the 17, something like that at the time, and it was amazing. It was like a round robin. They would just keep switching from song to song to song. And so when I joined the band, that continued, but I basically was stationary, and they all moved around me, and was one of the phenomenal things about the band live was the versatility within it. And everybody played all the instruments really well. It wasn't like, it sucked when they switched. It was good no matter what.
The reality about Orleans is that a lot of people don't, because they don't go into this kind of depth, or, they just like the music. They like Still the One, they like Dance With Me, or if they got the albums, they kind of got into this. But I think a lot of people didn't understand how much versatility there was always for the whole time we've played together. There's been that. And I always played a lot of double lead guitar with John Hall. And some people think that John sang the radio hits because they know his name better than mine, but I actually sang them. And we just, we covered each other's backs a lot on different stuff. Lance was really important in the vocal mix, and so it was really a team effort to make those records, and it still is, There's different people. John's a congressman now, so he's not kind of in the band, but we're still enjoying doing this.